All right, thank you for joining the Office of Undergraduate Research Range Undergraduate Research Journal Workshop. We're really excited to have folks here to learn about the journal. Just as a reminder that we are the University of Utah and we acknowledge this land that is named for the Ute tribe, which is the traditional and ancestral homeland of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. The University of Utah recognizes and respects the enduring relationship that exists between many Indigenous peoples and their traditional homelands. We respect the sovereign relationship between these tribes, states, and the federal government, and we affirm the University of Utah's commitment to partnership with Native nations and urban Indian communities through research, education, and community outreach activities. My name is Dr. Annie Sapel Fukushima. I'm the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies. I am also the Editor-in-Chief for Range Undergraduate Research Journal. I'd like to take a moment to have my colleagues of the journal introduce themselves. So Kashan, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Kishan. I'm an undergraduate research leader, and I'm also a co-editor as a student for the Range Journal. And I'm currently also an undergraduate student here at the University of Utah. I'm in my last year for undergraduate years studying computer science.
Thank you, Kashan. Jennifer.
I am Jennifer. I'm an academic program coordinator here at the office, and I'm also a staff editor on the Range Journal.
Wonderful. Thank you, team, for introducing yourselves. As a reminder, the OUR team has many folks that support students here at the University of Utah. We have other folks, including the wonderful Shelley Parker, who manages our events, as well as Katie, Angie, and Cindy, as well as student leaders who work for the office. So we want to acknowledge that the undergraduate research is a dynamic team, and that our mission is to facilitate and promote undergraduate student faculty collaborative research and creative works in all disciplines throughout the University of Utah campus. So here we are to learn more about, talk more about undergraduate research publishing. And so what we know is that there's a range of types of publications. I myself have published books. I've also published journal articles, both peer review as well as non-scholarly to scholarly types, even have one forthcoming in a different kind of journal that which will be for lawyers, so a legal journal. So there's all kinds of publications. They all have their own rules and their own formatting and all of that. And even some may publish conference proceedings. And so we just want to acknowledge that when we talk about the world of publication, that may look quite dynamic for the scholar and the early scholar of the undergraduate student who is publishing. But one thing, the reason why we are doing this workshop is we want to remind our students who are submitting to the journal about copyright and publication expectations, that many peer review journals that are high impact will expect that that their submission is not published elsewhere. So when I publish to a journal, a peer review journal, that article cannot be under review or published elsewhere. There have been exceptions, so I'll give you an exception where, for example, a chapter from my book that was published with Stanford University Press was then published with a peer review journal. It was republished. They then had to go into agreements and approvals and all of that to release that book chapter to be published in a journal. So it's not that it's not possible for things that are published elsewhere to be published in a peer review journal or in a book chapter, for example. That happens as well. But we just want to remind our students that there are rules to copyright and publication, and that the OUR's journal, which the Office of Undergraduate Research Journal Range, uses Creative Commons with attribute, which means that you as the author are allowed to republish your submission with us to other places as long as the journal is acknowledged. But you have that creative liberty to do that. And so that's just something we wanted to make sure that you are aware of, but other journals may have rules. So if you are wanting to publish in a peer review journal, you may want to think of what is it that you're going to submit to us, and may think of doing something different for that peer review journal. And so that's just something we wanted to make sure you're aware of. And that we also, so some journals, as I've stated earlier, may allow publications to appear in other places with proper attribute, or they will need a release from the original publisher. You do not need that release from us because our Creative Commons with attribute already releases you to do that. You should consult with your faculty mentor before submitting. If you believe you would like to publish your research in a high impact peer review journal or as a book or in a book chapter, you should consider submitting to our journal the type of submission that does not compromise your ability to publish research elsewhere. And so just a little bit about the journal range is that we were formed in the early 2000s, but in 2022, in collaboration with a previous undergraduate research leader, I worked with staff as well as with student leaders to really embark on a journey that would refashion the journal as accessible, indexable, and archivable. And it is for this reason the journal was then renamed as Range, the Undergraduate Research Journal, and now appears also as something that is continues to accept diverse content from thesis, abstracts, articles, creative submissions, to even research reflections. And that what we are using now is a new platform with in partnership with OER, the UAN Press Books, is that what we have found is that now our student journal has wider reception, where with our first journal, we had 2,126 unique visitors over a 4-month period. And for a 2023 second issue, just within the first 2 weeks, we had 1,368 views. And so we know that this journal in the new platform that is indexable and searchable is allowing our students to have wider reception, wider readers. It also means that our students more easily can share the journal with more folks. So it can actually have more accessibility. So now I'm going to invite Kashan, who's going to tell you, because you are here because you're interested in submitting, how to submit.
Yeah, so for those of you that are interested in submitting, we will go over the eligibility requirements. And the only eligibility requirements that we have to submit in the Range Journal is that you need to be an undergraduate student. And as long as you are an undergraduate student with faculty mentor approval, then you are more than welcome to join to submit your proposed research and for publication in the Range Journal. And so when it comes to formatting requirements, we want to make sure you edit submissions thoroughly before submission, and all approved submissions with minor formatting changes. And so submissions, again, must be your own work. We do consent by submitting, approve of your consent by submitting published in an open access journal. And then when you do have your research portion, you want to include bibliography and references. And then we want to go over the Range template and save and submit as a PDF or Word document. And we'll go over the Range format in just a little bit. So in images, we have for images, tables, and graphs, you do want to submit high resolution JPGs, just so that they show up very clearly on the Range Journal itself in a separate Word document. And our suggestion is that the images be at a 300 dpi quality in terms of size. And then when you submit these JPGs, you want to submit them as an attachment as well. So there will be 2 places of submission that you do for the Range Journal. Again, these images need to be high resolution and again, placed how the contributor would like to appear in the publication. And the Word document is a great way for you to format the order of those images for our submission. When it comes to the format template, this is sort of the format you want to follow. We do have a link. You can find this on our Office of Undergraduate Research website. But again, you have the title of the project, and then you have the student's full name with faculty mentor's name and additional authors if applicable, as well as the department of what your research falls under, especially the faculty mentor that they research under. And in the remaining of the pages, you'll go over the text that your research is discussing. So this may be text, pictures as well, and it may take in the form of abstract summaries, paper, artist statements, and or pictures of research or creative works. And again, all text must be 12-point font with Times New Roman font size and single spaced. And so make sure you follow these formats when you do submit your research portion. When it comes to authorship, we want to make note that the first author submits and then lists all the co-authors. And for authorship, when the author order must be agreed upon beforehand, especially guided by field norms and faculty mentor advice. So make sure you consult with your faculty mentor on who contributed what exactly and come to an agreement in terms of what the author order should look like for this range submission journal. The first author is responsible for confirming the submission and notifies all co-authors of the submission, especially to the range journal. And then faculty mentors that are listed as co-authors, again, must be listed in the submission form that we have as both an author and faculty mentor. So confirm where they are to be listed in the author order when you talk to your faculty mentor. And then some authors may agree upon equal first authorship. And then again, you want to confirm with your faculty member what's the field standard of doing so and indicating how this may look like in your research paper. So we want to go over why you want to publish in the first place. So some of you may be asking, why would this benefit me? When it comes to success in academia, communication is really, really, really crucial to being very successful in academia. And so by publishing, you enhance your writing skills for more clear, cohesive expression, especially when it comes to your research and your expertise in the field. By practicing your writing skills in terms of formulating a research paper to publish for a range journal, you engage in better writing skills that allow you to convey complex thoughts into something that's more clear for people, for anyone that can read that's not in your field. You also have peer review as a part of the publishing process, right? So we want to cultivate critical thinking and methodological reassessment. So, when you publish in general, you are likely going to come across peer reviews where other experts in the field are going to critique and give feedback as to what your experiment should have and what your research paper should have. And that alone is great practice in terms of how you can reassess and reevaluate what your research paper and what sort of the procedure you've done up to that point. And then again, it provides a documented record of your contributions to the field. So a lot of the work and research you do have some sort of novel discovery in and of itself. And by publishing, you create a documented record of this discovery or finding that you do end up finding, and which is very useful for both yourself as a record for future employers or other higher institutions that you were interested in applying, but also for the field itself that are doing research and using your research paper as a way to branch off and continue your research that you've done for future work. So when it comes to applying for the range journal submissions, we would like to have submissions received by January 1st as our deadline, and this will appear in the annual issue 1. And then in the second annual issue, you want to make sure you apply by November 1st. And we have attached a QR code image that links to the submission form. If you have any questions, I would definitely take a look at the submission form beforehand